Welcome to the It's All Fine and Dangy podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and dangy.
Get started with the formal interview.
Yes,
you know?
I agree.
So we are actually in the studio of Miss Rinat Halon Neal.
You got it.
I did it. Yes.
We didn't practice that at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. That was very good.
On the way here, I'm like, I got to ask her how to say the name because I don't want to butcher it.
Sure, no, that's all right. Yeah.
So thank you so much for having us in your studio. It's absolutely beautiful. As
It
everybody
is.
can see in the video, if you're watching the video, some of your gorgeous photographs are behind you displayed. And I just love the ones on the metal that you put on the metal. So
Yeah, me too.
yeah. And so you are described on your website as an award-winning craftsman certified photographer. Tell us what that means.
Okay. So, first of all, certified means that I got certified by the Professional Photographers of America, which is the biggest organization in the world, professional organization for professional photographers.
Wow.
They're called PPA. And basically taking the certification exam and submitting images for that purpose, you get certified as a light master. So you know how to light basically any situation, any specific scene, any specific type of light that you need for a photo shoot. So I actually did my certification exam with them. I think it's maybe 4 years ago, and I've been a professional photographer 25 years.
Wow.
And it's one of the hardest exams to pass. So
wow.
I was sitting there and I was going, oh my God, if I don't pass it, that's going to be so embarrassing. Like seriously.
Especially since you've been doing it for so long.
Yes, I have got to pass it. And I will say it still was very difficult. I passed it. I'm certified, but it was very, very difficult because it's all about lighting ratios. And that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand about photography. There's so much math.
It's so fascinating to me. I dabble. I'm not certainly not professional, but it's
I
very
was going to
fascinating.
ask, was it like a written test or was it both aspects?
Absolutely. It was a written test, and then I had to submit images that actually reflect the lighting that I was doing. So I am a master of light, and basically that was a really difficult thing to do, and I'm very proud of that achievement. There's about 2,500 of us in the world because people do not pass the exam.
Well, that's a very small percentage of people that are photographers.
So it is a big deal for me. And talk about, why I asked to look at the light.
I was just going to say, she was all about the lighting because she's over here looking at the shot we're going to have, that you're sitting there, and, we set up some different lighting.
Can I say, I love that though, because just as someone who dabbles in it, just at the fringes of dabbling in it, it's already complex to me. I'm a very technical person, but, I was telling you about the 3-point lighting system I was trying to learn for interviews. For if our studio was too dark, and how you light the side and if you back, and the whole thing, and like a colored accent light in the back, and again at the very fringes, because I can only imagine what it's like to really go through and pass that.
Especially with the math that you said that's involved in it.
And it's not just the photos, but it's how you can manipulate them in your computer after too, right?
Generally speaking, yes. My goal as a photographer is to always get it right in the camera.
Yes.
The Photoshop aspect, and I'm old school photographer.
Sure.
I studied film photography.
Oh, nice.
And for me, I honestly would have never became a photographer if I had any inclination that Photoshop was going to come out and I would be expected to spend half my time in front of the computer.
Yes.
Because I thought I would photograph, drop it off,
and be done.
And then get the prints, So I actually love that because it does shorten my work so much because I get it right in the camera. I need to do very little Photoshop. So
that's why people come to you, because you're getting it right the first time.
So, but that is the goal. So that's the certified part.
Yeah.
Craftsman means, again, it's through the Professional Photographers of America, and it means that I I took a year off pretty much. I wasn't photographing very much, and I traveled around the country, and I taught my peers in local PPA chapters. So we all do that. Basically, the people who are involved in the organization and want to help other photographers grow and become better.
I love that.
It's a craftsman degree basically. So I earned my craftsman degree through them. And I'm actually currently working on my master degree through them. And today is print competition for international print competition. I was just telling you when you walked in.
Yeah, explain to everybody what that is, because obviously we're not in this world, so I've never heard of that. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so international print competition, IPC, is like the Olympics of professional photographers. And we can submit, each photographer can submit 4 images, that's it, for the print competition. And it's being judged by the best photographers in the world. There's a panel of judges, and basically your image can either merit or not. And they explain why, they talk it through. So there's a ton of preparation for it. I mean, you're thinking 4 images, right? All right. A ton of preparation.
Just choosing the images. We were chatting about that. Like, how do you even go about that?
That's what I was going to ask. So do you try to hit 4 different categories or to show the sort of versatility? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, because so many images are submitted. It's different judging panels. It's not the same people. Your name is not attached to it, so no one knows. It's anonymous. So it's basically which images do I think have the highest chance of meriting. So so last year I was able to merit 3 out of 4 that I submitted. And this year we'll see. So far 1 merited and 1 didn't. So
I have to ask, all year when you're taking photos, are you thinking this might be a candidate for the...
No,
you do it at the end?
Yeah, no, I really do it at the end, I guess. I never think about it. I really do not enjoy the whole concept of
it's a lot of pressure.
It's a ton of pressure.
It seems like stress,
I just want to do it because, first of all, it does elevate my craft. I mean, it's the next level. It's amazing. It's like these tiny little aspects of the photograph that you're like, that's right. Yes, I can make it better,
So I'm curious. We ask most of our guests this, but I'm especially curious because of what you do. But how did you get involved in photography to begin with?
So that's a funny story. So I'm from Israel.
Right.
I grew up in Israel, and then my dad lived in Ohio my whole life. So I was kind of back and forth. When I was 15 in Israel, I ended up on a TV show that's like a cult show today. It's like, think about Saved by the Bell or Glee, the shows that you grew up on. So I did that in Israel, and it was great, and I loved it. And I was a professional actress and a singer and a child star and the whole thing. Great.
Oh, wow.
And then that's what I wanted to keep doing. But my dad was like, no, seriously, no, you need a real job. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And I didn't really know anything else. I mean, that was my passion, and my dad's an engineer, and I'm pretty good with that type of thing. And I said, well, I'll be an engineer. All right, let me go study engineering.
Yeah.
So I did. I went to college to the Ohio State University, and first quarter, at the time when I went, there were 60,000 students there. It was crazy big, and there are no engineering classes available. And they said, just take an elective. What do you want to take? Just take something.
I see where you're going.
And I said, all right. So I took French because I took it in high school, and I took another class, I don't remember what. And then they had photography 101. And I said, well, my mom likes to photograph. Sure, I'll try it. Why not, right? So for that class, they had us buy an SLR, like a real camera. And as soon as they put it in my hands, I knew that I just have to understand how you make art out of this thing. I still have it here. This is my first camera.
Oh, you still have it? How cool is that?
That is my
really
first
cool.
camera.
You saved it. That's great.
Yeah. So, because it was a moment where it was like, what engineering? Who cares? Like, how do you make art out of this thing?
Yeah.
So I kind of fell into it. Totally.
Well, it's funny though, because that was another like creative outlet. And so, I mean, you were just doing it because, oh, my mom's interested. But once you kind of, got a hold of it, you're like, okay, because you were doing a creative, thing in the arts already. And that was your passion.
I was, but I will say this, and this is, again, I go back to the fact that people don't realize it. Photography is creative, but it's also a ton of math. And
I was just going to say, I feel like photography is almost a mix of creativity and science.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that was blending those two things.
So I was able to use both of my abilities, the artistic part and the more engineering part of my brain, and bring them together and be able to photograph. So, and my biggest shock, I thought just like you. And actually I tell this when I teach classes. I tell the story of the first day that I walked into Photography 101 class. And I was late because it's the biggest campus in the world, and I had no idea where to go.
60,000 students, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm like, where do you go? And I was a good 20 minutes late to class. So I'm walking in, and my professor is Ardeen Nelson. She's talking about apertures. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
What? You don't press the button and the picture comes out? What? I mean, I had no idea, none.
Right.
So... yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
My limited understanding of that was driven by the evolution of cameras and phones and how advanced they've become because of the whole debate about everyone used to think megapixels, that's where it's at. And then you got to start thinking about the size of the lens, the aperture, all that stuff, where you could have a camera with less megapixels that takes better pictures than one with bigger megapixels. So just, again, on the fringes for me. But I know that term just from digging into it a little bit.
Yeah.
I've read on your website that you've done photography for like high-ranking government officials and celebrities. Can you tell us who some of those are, or is that kind of...
No, yes, I can. First of all, I will say all of that was in Israel.
Right.
And yes, so there was a member of the Knesset, which is the Israeli government.
How did you get, how did you land that gig, so to speak?
Well, that's a great story too, because it was completely random. I mean, it's just life. It's just life led me. I was here. Let me back up. I had a very successful wedding photography business in Orlando. It went very, very well. It was wonderful. And then I was married at the time to my first husband. And found out that I was 34 and I had something called early menopause. I always talk about it because I think it's something really important for people to hear about, because I had no idea something like that existed. Normally women get menopause at 50. It's normal. I got menopause at 34.
Probably scared you.
Very much so. Yeah. Very much so. First thing, they, of course, can't have children, basically. But they told me that was the least of my problems. So basically, because my body was aging 10 years ahead of my chronological age. And,
goodness.
I got to figure out what to do. And long story short, that ended my first marriage. And I was basically, so I had a very successful business. I had a dog. I had a yellow lab named Sam, 100-pound yellow lab that went with me everywhere. And I had a condition called brain fog, which is actually a really strong side effect of early menopause. So try running a studio with brain fog. It was just crazy. And I ended up deciding to shut down my business here and move close to mom. Right? That's what you do when you're sick.
That's a hard decision to make too.
Awfully hard, because I was doing great and I loved it here and it was great. And here I am moving back to Israel, where I have not been as an adult.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't worked there, certainly not as a photographer.
You're not established there.
Not at all. So I took Sam and my photography business and moved to Israel. I wanted to reconnect with the culture and see how it feels. And there's a trip in Israel for women called Queen of the Desert, where basically women just go drive Jeeps in deserts somewhere around the world. So it's like a challenge trip. So I decided to join one. That one was happening in Spain in the Pyrenees Mountains. And I went there. I really have not been around Israeli women at that point for years. And it was wonderful and it was great. It was a great adventure. That's a whole other story. I ended up, there was a woman there that kept having a videographer video her. And I'm like, what's happening? This isn't like, what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So, and there was about probably 50 of us, or more, I think. And finally I asked, I think on the third day, I asked someone, why is there a videographer following this woman? And they're like, oh, she's the Minister of Education in Israel. And
Okay.
I was like, she's all right. Great. I had no idea.
And she's on this trip too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So she came on the trip, to help promote the concept of it because it's a very empowering trip. Anyway, we ended up connecting. I think it was on the last day. We ended up connecting. There was a spiritual moment happening there on top of a mountain right by a lake. And we were all sitting there writing, kind of journaling. And her and I ended up sitting next to each other. And she said, if you do decide to move to Israel, find me because I'll help you. I said, great, thank you.
You made a friend.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So I did move and I called her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What are the chances of that working out like that?
Yeah. So, and she certainly helped me quite a lot.
So that's how you kind of got introduced to the right people and got your photography business up and running. And
and that was the political side of it. In terms of famous actors and so forth, I was a child star. I know so many people that are still in the business and are just
know them out now.
I mean, it just
use your connections.
Just use my connections. So the business was ended up going very well over there. And I did figure out how to take care of my health. So
good.
that was very
That's
important.
the best part.
That is awesome. And that might be, a great topic for us to talk about on the show sometime if there's a nonprofit or something that, deals with that because there's so many crazy stories surrounding menopause.
And you don't hear about that. No. If I was in that position, it's not like you saw a commercial or you heard a friend talk about it. It's one of those things where you would immediately think there's something terribly wrong with me.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of mental to deal with. There's a lot of, obviously, the loss of the ability to have children.
Sure.
I mean, that's shocking. Like overnight, it's like, no, you don't have any eggs, by the way.
Because you're planning for that. You're 34, you're young, you have your career going, but probably the next step is, we're going to have kids someday.
So I do want to say about that. I started a Facebook page that it's about that. It's about early menopause and bioidentical hormones, which ended up what I did. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to go into that, but we could get real deep on that. I was going to mention that. Yeah.
But there is all kinds of other information. So if anybody's still, it's just up there.
What's the name of that Facebook page? Just so that if
we'll also put a link under this. Do you know?
Yeah,
maybe
I'll have to give it
we'll look it up and then find a link.
Okay, I'm going into something totally different. So I just want to say, if you want to start your own photography business, more power to you, please do. And what I would suggest is that, start looking into joining PPA and at least educating yourself. Yep. But I want to ask that you do not start with weddings. Do not start photographing weddings because weddings is a once in a lifetime event. It happens. If you don't catch it, you can't recreate it. It's gone. Yeah. So just keep other people in mind and start doing portraits or don't do weddings.
I love that you give that advice though, because is that where you started, or did you start with weddings?
So I started with weddings after assisting 2 wedding photographers for 4 years.
Okay. So you were seeing what was going on.
No, I did every mistake that I made was on their dime, on their time, and they covered me. Yeah. So, it was okay. I was the second shooter. I was their assistant. It was all right. So by the time I started photographing, and I did start with weddings, I had so much experience. I mean, at that point, I was a lead photographer for the other photographers that I was assisting. So.
Do you feel like, you said because it's a moment in time, but do you also feel like you can actually better perfect the craft when you're not shooting things like weddings? Is it that, or is it...
I think for me, I'm just thinking about the people because I am the photographer that gets the phone calls after.
Yeah.
I had an awful wedding photographer. Can you do something? Can you save my images? Oh. Can you do this? No, I can't. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I mean, I wish I could. Oh. So that's what I think about more. Yeah. and many people are talented. It's not about talent, and now I'm going into a whole other, but it's about running a business and understanding a wedding day, and there's so much more to it.
Oh, that perspective of it is more of the mess.
So much more to it. I actually, when I teach, I talk about wedding photography. I equal it to war zone photography in a good way, not in a bad way. I mean, it's not, God forbid, no one dies.
Yeah, it's like getting that shot.
But you got to get that shot, and you better, take cover when you need to. And I mean, you better be on your feet.
I know.
So, and know what you're doing.
So you do something called luxury heirloom portraits. What in the world is that?
There's all these fancy terms that we're learning. Right? This is amazing.
It is. So the whole point of having my studio is to give an experience, mostly to women, but to families as well. And of course we serve men and we serve kids, but mostly we have women coming here. And I want to give the experience that I think everyone deserves. And I think everyone deserves a luxury experience. And obviously great, beautiful images as well.
Sure.
So yes, so that's what we do. And there's very specific things that we do around the actual photo shoot itself to help it become a luxury experience. The first thing that we do is, I first of all, I have a long phone call with the person that I'm going to photograph, or if it's a whole family, then I talk to whoever is in charge of the photo shoot,
right?
And really understand who they are and what we're photographing and what it is. I mean, in order to create an heirloom piece for them, I want it to be something that I would understand. I need to understand who they are. I need to understand what they love. I need to understand what they value. So that's the first thing that I do. Then,
so you can get like personality in the shot? Is that kind of?
Well, it depends on the shot, but it depends on the people.
Yeah.
Some people want personality, and yes, we get it. Some people don't.
They want to be
Some
more
people
serious,
want to be, more kind of stoic, in the
that's
picture.
true.
So it depends. So that's where I kind of understand who they are. Right. So,
and you probably get a lot of that from shooting weddings for so many years, because there's, very specific questions that you're asking a bride or a groom or the family what pictures they want. So you're kind of bringing the experience from that into these portraits that you're doing in your studio.
Well, it definitely helped, no doubt. I mean, wedding photography experience is hands down one of the best experiences in the world.
Trial by fire.
Yes, it is trial by fire.
Wow.
But this is really the next level of it. What I do with my clients then is I go in for a design and styling consultation.
Wow.
So I go into their home. I want to see their style. I want to see who they are. I want to see how they decorate. I want to see what their home looks like, where they live. And then I help them choose what to wear. So there's no issues. It's one of the things that people stress about the most. Yeah. What am I going to wear? What am I going to wear?
And everybody tries to be so monochromatic all the time. Really need some advice on that. Because let's all wear plaid shirts. You know what I mean? And you're probably coming in going, no.
Well, it depends on the family again.
And the personality, I guess.
And the personality. But I relieve them from the stress of the getting ready for the photo shoot. We also have a stylist we work with. So if they want to go shopping, I'm happy to connect them. There's no additional fee. It's all part of the package to go shopping.
Well, this is a luxury experience.
And you have a makeup artist as well, don't you?
That's on the day of the photo shoot. So on the day of the photo shoot, we have a makeup artist here who does the makeup, who puts finishing touches on the hair. We have catered food served.
I was going to say, I saw a charcuterie platter in one of the pictures. This is a very pampered experience.
It really is.
I think that's amazing because
it comes through, I bet, in the photos though, where you're relaxed and you're in your element because I think you can kind of tell when someone's feeling insecure in a photo. It probably comes through in their face, right?
Oh my God, all the time. Yeah. The funny thing is I have clients who are, after the experience and they got their images and they love them and the whole thing. And I've had clients over and over apologize to me for, being so stressed and being so just crazy frozen in front of the camera. And they keep saying, how were you able to get it out of me? I must have been the worst client you ever had. And I always say to all of them, no, you're not.
It reminds
Even to the worst one.
It reminds me. So one of my favorite funny sitcoms is Friends.
Oh, I love that clip.
And you know
Are you
the
kidding me?
episode of Chandler where he's got this
Does
weird
this thing at the last second. Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things. Actually, when I do speaking engagements, I show that clip because
that's perfect.
it is
That
the
is
funniest
amazing.
thing.
I think a lot of people have photography anxiety. Look at all the especially when you can't prepare, you can't be the luxury, you get that sort of luxury treatment. Think of our driver's license photos.
Oh, that's awful.
Because everyone's in panic mode.
No, but it's true. But most everybody does. I do.
Yeah.
I don't like being in front of camera. It's not a comfortable place to be.
Yeah.
So you really need someone on the other side of the camera who knows how to get you comfortable and relaxed and calm and happy. So your personality will shine and you will get the pictures that you want. Something else, by the way, that my clients get from me before the photo shoot, I wrote a blog post and I send it as an email about how to prepare emotionally for your portrait session. Wow. Because I used to get, just like we talked about, that you learn, right? From anything that happens, you learn. I used to let before every portrait session, the day before, I would have the client call me and I would need to talk him off the ledge because it's very stressful. It's very stressful. Yeah. And I finally said, okay, no. So I started sending this blog. It's usually sent a week before the session because that's when the emotions really build up.
Sure.
And I have clients walking in here going, thank you. I was feeling the anxiety and your email came. Wow. Thank you.
That is amazing.
Oh, see, that's something you wouldn't think about unless you've been in the business.
Yeah. So you say you wrote the blog post. You're an author too.
I am. Yeah, you're actually sitting right next to my book over there.
Is this the What's Wrong with My Camera?
That's it. Yes.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, go ahead, pull it out.
Taking better photographs with any camera. I might have to take a copy of this for sure. Oh, this is great.
It's so what happened, the story behind this book was I was teaching at Rollins Continuing Education Program. Mm-hmm. So I taught there for 3-4 years until the program shut down. And I taught basic photography. My first question every time I had a new class, I would say, why are you here? And so many of my students would say, well, there's something wrong with my camera. I'm not sure what's the problem. I was like, okay.
Probably not the camera. Can I tell you, in IT, we call that PEBCAKE, which stands for Problem Exists Between Chair and Keyboard.
There you go. So actually, if you read the last page of the book, I tell them what's wrong with their camera. I literally...
Don't tell me, because I want to buy a copy of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we got to add this to our... we love supporting local authors as well because
but I will
Dan's an
literally
author.
read that one for sure.
Yeah, he will.
Well, I got to say, it's very good. I mean, it's written by my favorite author. No.
There you go.
I love
That's like that quote I read earlier that said, this is the most popular podcast on this page. And it was their podcast page.
There you go.
I love that. So actually, I saw some of your artworks, one of your photographs at the Artisan Loft. So that's how we kind of got introduced through Betsy Owens. And it was beautiful. It was on the metal, and it was more of a landscape picture. So when in your studio, I'm seeing a lot of portraits, but you also do landscape art as well, correct?
So, yes. So, photographing 25 years. Yes. It's, and honestly, I love photographing many, many different genres because I learn from each thing and it's very different. I've done landscapes for many, many years. Actually, when I lived in Israel for 5 years, one of the biggest gigs I got was I was an in-house photographer for the Israeli Trade Center, which is in Tel Aviv, and they had their own in-house magazine. And I basically had to photograph, for that magazine, I had to photograph the cover. And every time it had to be the towers and it had to be a different angle. You can't see it in the camera, but that's one actually that...
that shot is in your book, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
I thought I saw that one.
Yeah, I think it is. So I've done, I've always, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel it develops me as a photographer to photograph many different genres. And I always love some sort of a challenge in terms of photography or So so I do landscapes.
Yeah.
I love that. That is my personal favorite to shoot and to look at is scenery or nature or landscapes.
Very therapeutic, right? When you are actually in that element and, trying to get that perfect shot.
Well, yeah, I will say on that. So one of the things I talk about in the book is when not to photograph.
Okay.
And I feel that photography, ever since it becomes so available on the phones, people stopped experiencing things because they're photographing them all the time.
We talk about this.
We do talk about that. Which
I
is
tell
why,
them, be in the moment. Be in the moment.
Can I tell
right
you,
now.
just this is related, but I told her for my birthday what I want this year. There's a little tiny camera they make now that's high resolution that you clip it on. It's got like on your shirt, and then you go on your adventure without looking in the screen. Mm-hmm. And it was literally because of that, because I'll go, oh, let me get a video of this. And you're constantly looking we go home and look at the video and I'm like, it's really cool. I'm pretty sure I looked through the screen the whole time we were at that waterfall, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. So have you seen the movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? I think that's what it is. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Who's the star in
Ben Stiller.
Yes.
And Sean Penn is in it.
Yes, we have where he is, he's like he's imagining that he's jumping out of a helicopter.
He works for Life magazine.
Yeah.
In the basement.
Oh, yes. I have seen
and
that.
Sean Penn is trying to get the picture.
There is a scene at the end where he finally finds the photographer. He keeps looking for Sean Penn. He's like all over, right, in the adventures. He finally finds him.
He's up in a mountain somewhere with a camera, isn't he?
The snow leopard. He's trying to get
with the snow leopard, right? He's sitting down, cameras on a tripod. Sean Penn is sitting down, cameras on a tripod, and he's just watching the snow leopard.
With his own eyes, right?
Own eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ben Stiller's like, you're not taking a picture? I mean, come on, this is what we're here for.
Right.
And he said, no, sometimes there are moments I just want to watch. It's the epitome of that. I was on the beach one day, taking a walk. Beautiful sunset. Great day, loving it. I'm totally in the moment, immersing in it. And I'm walking towards a row of people. Everyone with their phones on the sunset.
Yeah.
The only one not photographing at that moment, the professional photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, so there is something I think very, very important about what happened with photography and how it kind of took over our lives in a way, and it cheapens it too, because seriously, if you're going to have this camera, are you going to look at all these pictures? What are you going to do with them?
Well, so I'm not a good example because that is like my hobby. I will sit in there at my computer and tinker with video files for hours at a time. But your point is still valid. And that's why I want that little camera, because you just set it and forget it. It doesn't even have a screen on it. So there's nothing to look at.
So you can go back and enjoy the photos that you captured.
But you're living your life when you're recording. There's no use in even looking. There's no screen.
Yes.
It's like, so you just click it on.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
In my book, I talk about just understanding how to get the best shot so you don't need to keep photographing. I mean, I'm hearing people going, oh, I'm just going to keep taking a picture and one of them is going to work, and I'm like, why don't you just learn how to take a good picture?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you
just do one and you're done.
Then move on. Oh, what a great point.
Right?
Then you can be immersed the rest of the time.
Exactly.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, Angie said, taking some of the landscaping and what I would call, I always say nature, because I do a lot of that out here in the woods or whatever. And she was talking about it being therapeutic. You do something called therapeutic photography, don't you? What is that?
I do. So therapeutic photography is a way of there are two ways to do it. Either a way of taking photographs from your life and using it in life coaching aspect. I'm a life coach as well.
Yes, I read that.
So we take photographs from whatever point it is in the life that we want to understand and maybe work on a little bit, and use them basically in this session. It's more of a life coaching session is less of a photography session.
Is it to like recall memories?
Yes, that's what I thought.
All kinds of things happen.
Okay.
All kinds of things happen. I mean, yeah. It can recall memories. It can help you understand things that weren't clear before, and all of a sudden you're looking at it going, wait a minute. Just a great tool. Photographs can be a great tool.
Because it triggers a moment in your life you can focus on better.
Yes. The other thing that we do is therapeutic photography in the studio. So that's mostly the way I was able to do it is help people who were dealing with self-image issues and body image issues. That being able to come to the studio and be photographed. And these are people, I mean, we talked about not liking to be in front of the camera. This is a complete extreme of, I hate me type of thing.
Oh, no.
And being able through photography to show someone that they are beautiful. Because I keep saying everyone is beautiful, and it is the truth. I'm not just saying that.
Yes.
Everybody is beautiful. There's a moment where it's like you look at someone, look at that. Wow, that person's beautiful. And usually when they're comfortable or happy or something, and it reflects in their eyes. So being able to bring a person to that point in the studio and then show them a picture and go, really, that's not beautiful? Seriously.
Wow.
Or they shine through, I would imagine. That's great.
That's amazing. So you must have a way of making people feel very comfortable as being the photographer behind the camera, because people that are scared don't have self-love for that. It could be probably women that, have mastectomy scars or lots of stretch marks from childbirth, or whatever.
Or even traumatic childhood or something,
And so you must have something about you that just makes them comfortable enough to kind of let that go.
We're getting the vibe like that since we got here.
I think we're getting the vibe, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Wow. Yeah. Now, are those photographs ever shared with anybody? Like, are they comfortable enough to share them with anybody, or is it's for self?
It's for them.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For them. It's only for them. We do it for them. And, if they want to share it with someone, it's their choice.
Yeah.
But I don't go there. It's a very specific session. It's for them.
Very
usually,
personal.
Usually we do the session, which has a whole therapeutic feel to itself, the session itself, just being able to do this and open up in front of the camera and feel good enough. I've had people dancing here, at the end. And then coming back to look at the pictures, and I always do it with them. I never let them do it by themselves. So, because lots of tears. I mean, it's something.
And a lot of times if they're looking at it themselves, they're pointing out negative aspects probably. With you sitting there, you can look at the lighting on that. Look at how, you're doing that life coaching basically in that moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing.
But it's just usually the pictures speak for themselves at that point.
So cool. I've never heard of that.
I haven't
That is
either.
really amazing.
You're like a public speaker as well?
Yes.
So you're a public speaker, an author, a life coach,
is there
a
anything you don't do?
Yes.
Like really?
Many things that I don't do. It just happens to be these things that I do.
Let's talk about one more thing you do. You do an online photo school?
I do. I have an online photography school. It's available. First of all, there's a free class on there I think everyone should take, because
I'll be doing that.
It's a free smartphone photography class. It's going to help anyone who uses their smartphone, which is pretty much all of us at this point, taking better pictures.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing, and that's free. I really want to help people. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I would imagine too, when you see so many bad photos, you're like, oh,
if you just did this one thing, you could have just one little thing.
Well, plus again, it becomes, that's all you do. Like, that's all you do. You take pictures all the time instead of like being in the moment. So,
well, back to your point of taking one photo, we all do that. And I recently went through I was telling you I have like 50,000 photos. I went through the process of cleaning them, and you realize you have 10 that are pretty much the same.
There you go.
So now everyone's buying software that sort of deletes them, and then you're like, is it deleting the wrong ones?
That's right.
So I would find huge value in being able to take the right shot and move on with my day.
I tell my students when I teach, and we do, there's the the actual workshop where we sit down and, and learn, but then we do a photo walk. So they practice what it is. And when we practice, one of the things I say is, okay, you'll remember film. You remember film photography? Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you remember? Which film you used back in the day? 35 millimeter. Of what? Like Kodak or Fuji? Do you remember?
Probably mine was the cheapest. So.
Whatever was the cheapest.
Right. Whatever was on sale.
Let me ask you this: how many images did the roll of film have?
Right.
24. The biggest one. How many did the biggest roll of film have?
48, maybe.
No, 36.
36. Okay.
So I'm going to be kind, is what I tell them. I'm going to be kind, and for the next 3 hours, you have the big roll of film.
You have 36.
36 images. That's it. You cannot take anything else. Think of every image. Think before you click.
I love that. I remember this is getting
because you used to get the hand of somebody when you
this is going to date me a bit, but I remember
you're a teenager trying to get the best picture and you got somebody's hand. It's like seriously.
My mom used to like ship them away because it was cheaper. So remember they would put the film in the envelope, mail it, and then you'd wait for 2 months. You'd get the photos back, and then you're looking through the photos and you're like, oh man. It's like you said, hand in the face, and the eyes were closed or it's blurry.
Yeah, it looks like a ghost.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll look at like some of the stuff we're looking at in here and you're like, wow, I think I'm pretty decent at photography, and then I can't figure out how you got such good shots. And that's knowing the science and, polishing your creative craft.
Yeah.
All these magazines you have hanging up in there, do you have photos in them?
Either the cover is mine or inside. So, but the favorite story is the one that I shot in the basement of the Kremlin, which is in Moscow, which is a great story. That's this one. Where is it? Here she is. So this one, I ended up in Moscow, which is a long story why. It was a personal reason.
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting this woman who owns a hair salon in Moscow, but she has her own magazine like this. Her name is Dolores, and that's what it says here, Dolores.
Oh, okay.
It's like Oprah. She has her own magazine.
Oh, cool.
So, and I can't speak Russian, and, she can't speak English very well. So I learned a little bit of Russian. I was there for a couple of years, and she learned some English, and we just loved each other. It was just a connection.
Was it energy between you two?
Yeah, I loved that woman. She was amazing businesswoman, just a great person. And she had a hair show, once a year. And that one, while I was there, happened to be in the Kremlin. She rented the Kremlin. So she said, well, I want you to photograph for me. And I said, well, okay. So here I am, and I am basically driven into the Kremlin with
wow.
in a truck. They were all, there was a gala happening in the Kremlin, but I was driven in through the back gates because I was going under the Kremlin in the basement to set up a studio and photograph the models before they went on stage. So it was one of those moments where it's like, we're getting through the guard and everybody speaks Russian. I'm the only one, and I'm looking at my ID and I'm like, hopefully I'll make it out of here alive. Okay. So, and I have the guards helping me carry my equipment because it's a whole studio I'm setting up.
Yeah.
And anyway, they put me down in the basement over there. I set up my studio, and then I walked around just kind of looking around to see, what's there. And I ended up finding the everybody getting ready. So even though they didn't hire me to do that, I took pictures getting ready behind the scenes. And then I had no idea when they were coming or what's going to happen. It was just, I was ready. And all of a sudden the first model came, and I literally had her, she kind of posed one side, posed the other side, and took off to go on stage. And I was like, okay.
It's very fast paced. It shows like that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like you really have to know what you're doing. So this is my work. That's from that photo shoot.
Nice.
And what they have on their head is hair. It's not their hair, but it is hair.
It's like a hair piece,
yes.
but it's art.
Yeah, it's art. So that's
Yeah.
what they do, and that's what we needed to photograph. So we did. It's a whole 6-page spread, but there's a lot more.
That is really cool.
So that was a great moment in time to photograph in the basement of the Kremlin.
Wow.
But
That is really neat.
But yeah, I did magazine work for about 5 years. So it's all.
So did you, like when you do a photo shoot for a magazine, is it usually them reaching out to you? Are you applying for that position? Like how does that work with photographers?
So it's usually, I'm trying to think how to answer that because,
Big storm
here it
coming.
comes.
Florida.
Because it really, let me hang this back up.
Sure.
I like how you have them hung and then you probably have the hanger in the spot where like one of the photos is so that you can go to it quickly.
Normally, yes. If I'm smart and I remember to do that, yes. Magazine work is something that, yes, you do need to get connected with the right person. So my first magazine work was actually when I was photographing weddings here in Florida, and there's a magazine here that was for brides, and they just heard about me and they liked my work, and they reached out and said, hey, can you come photograph for us? But then when I moved to Israel and I got connected with the Minister of Education that I was telling you about, she ended up connecting me with the chief editor of one of the biggest magazines. And he agreed to meet with me. And let me tell you, he was not happy. He said, you're here because she told me, she asked me to meet with you.
Wow.
I'll give you a chance, but that's what you're getting. Because as you can imagine, so many other people are waiting on this job. But I did a great job, and he was very happy. And I ended up, getting more work. So
amazing.
If you get your foot in the door, but then you better do good.
Better prove yourself.
Yes.
But getting your foot in the door means that you have already kind of mastered your craft and, continued your education and people see that. So that's why you are getting your foot in the door, is because of the jobs you've already done.
Well, it's the fact that photography is, if you want to make a living in it, it's a business first and foremost.
Yes.
The best advice I have for people, it's raining. I love Florida.
That's okay.
Yeah. The best advice I have people reaching out to me saying, well, how can I, succeed as a photographer? And I say, well, go get a business degree. I mean,
That's the start.
Running a business.
Running a business.
It's been so nice chatting with you. I do have to ask one more thing because I'm such a nut for Disney. You worked with Disney Imagineering at some point?
I was their in-house photographer.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is a whole, you
That's
could talk to her for 3 hours about that.
Hours about that. Wow. That's very cool.
We were supposed to go to Disneyland this year for his 50th, but because all of the travel stuff, we'll probably
Next
wait.
year.
But
Next year.
Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you're going to have to talk to her off
I'll
camera
talk
about
to you
that, because
about
I'm sure you have 5 million questions.
Absolutely do.
Thank you so much for having us in your studio here. If someone's interested in being photographed by you, where can they find you?
Oh, well, my website, first of all.
And we'll put a link for sure.
Yes. And then social media, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. The best way is to call me.
Excellent. We'll put all your contact info in the show notes if you're listening or watching. As usual, scroll down and click the link.
One other thing that I think another misconception with professional photography. So we are sitting here right now. What's the date? Today is September 12th.
12th. Yeah.
I currently have, until the end of the year, I have 7 weekend spots open. 7. That's it.
That's it.
I saw that on your website.
Yes.
That's all she has, guys.
Plan ahead.
So you got to plan ahead. It's like, I get these calls in December.
Last minute.
Yeah.
I now want my Christmas pictures done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
You mean for next year, right?
yeah, exactly.
Like Christmas pictures are done in July. Like
Yes.
that, or booked in July of the previous year.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Pretty much. And the other thing I wanted to say, because we talked about the online school, besides the free class, the class that's based on the book, What's Wrong with My Camera, that I taught at Rollins, I went ahead and just put it online. So the whole class is available online now.
That's amazing.
It comes with the book, so it's a great
that is
class.
cool.
Great basic photography
Well,
class.
I'm going to pick up a copy of the book while we're here from you for sure.
Great.
But this has been great and
my
very
gosh.
educational, and we wish you
Such
much
an amazing
continued-
story that you have. We look forward to reading your bio in the future, your autobiography in the
My
future.
auto, yes.
And I wish you much success in the future. I think you don't even need the well wishes at this point. You've got it out.
We always need well
Yeah.
wishes. Thank you so much. I
Yes, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
This has been great.
Guys.
All right, guys. Stay tuned. So we met Rinat actually today. It's a Sunday, and Dan is doing the editing of the podcast.
Yeah, we're back in the studio now, yeah.
So we're recording the end of this because we had to share this. While we were doing the interview, she had brought up how she had 4 of her photos entered into the Olympics for photographers, as she called it.
Yes.
And they get like merits, right? Different people judge them, and they pick certain ones.
Yeah, the same. You guys just heard it, but that's the contest again.
And she had 2 of her 4 photos picked. So how amazing
that
is
is
that?
so awesome. Yeah.
And aren't these photographs just amazing? If you're looking at the YouTube video, guys,
Check
these
this
are
out.
beautiful.
Yeah, she is amazingly talented.
Very much
and
so.
we had so much fun talking to her. She was so cool, such a friendly and warm vibe.
And a great story.
And a great story. And just one of these people that is just knocking it out of the park in every direction.
Yes,
and
she
she's
is.
motivated. And an inspiration. It was really great to talk to her.
So big congrats to her.
Yes, congrats.
And as we forgot to say at the end of the show with her, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and dandy.